Coming up, the Brewers beat the Twins with a infield hit in extra innings. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us. Then we recap all the action for you from yesterday across Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. Brice Turang legged out an infield single to give the Brewers a walk-off win over the Twins yesterday. Locked On Brewers celebrates that win in Milwaukee.
Hey everybody, Chuck Freeman of Locked On Brewers. Going to get myself a little bit of a run in the 100-degree Wisconsin heat after that 8-7 10-inning win over the Twins today. How about that? Rallying from a 6-3 deficit. How impressive was that? 2-run blast by Adames, solo shot by Tyrone Taylor, ties it up to go to extras, and then Adames comes through with an RBI base hit to tie it, and then Brice Turang legs out that grounder, and the Brewers win it. Andrew Monasterio also had a big 2-run single early in this game. Man, I cannot be more impressed with the way the Brewers have been playing here since last Friday. They're on a roll. They've won 5 in a row, sweeping the Twins, staying 3.5 in front of the Cubs, who also won. So we'll talk about all this. Corbin Burnes had a terrible start. They bailed him out. He gave him 3 home runs. We'll see on Locked On Brewers later on tonight, everybody.
The Cubs won yet another series by taking their second out of 3 against the Tigers on Wednesday. And Locked On Cubs recaps that win as Chicago looks ahead to the last month of the season.
All right, the Cubs, really another close game, survive in Detroit, get that 2 out of 3 series win with a 6-4 win. Jameson Taillon was beautiful in this game through 5 innings. He did not allow 1 hit, and then the 6th inning came along, and all of a sudden a couple guys got on. He labored through. He gave up a game-tying grand slam to Kerry Carpenter, and it looked like the Cubs were headed for another really rough loss. But in the 8th inning, Yan Gomes, who's been clutch all season for the Cubs, came up with a huge 2-out with 2 men on base hit to give the Cubs the lead, and they added 1 more in the 9th and were able to hold on. The Cubs are playing just well enough right now. A lot of close games lately against inferior opponents, but they're finding ways at least to win enough of them to keep their heads above water. They go to Pittsburgh next.
The Phillies forced extra innings with 3 runs in the 9th inning against the Giants last night, but then immediately gave up 3 to San Francisco in the 10th and took the loss. Locked On Phillies goes through another roller coaster finish.
Well, the Phillies fall to the San Francisco Giants in extra innings, 8-6. Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. Listen, I don't know how you could call this a bad loss today. I really don't. I get it. The Phillies blew an opportunity with Craig Kimbrell there in extra innings, and he didn't look good. And JT Realmuto striking out with the winning run on third base in the bottom of the 9th. That doesn't look good. But bottom line, from this series, you learn one thing. This team is ready for the moment. Tight games late. They don't give up. They battle. They're a really hard team to finish when it's late in the game. I mean, Bryce Harper is just incredible. That guy's unstoppable. It's not even October yet. He's only getting hotter by the day. I mean, if I've learned one thing from this series against the Giants, it's that this Phillies team is going to be a problem in October. Sure, you lose the series ender, but the guys fought today. They took 2 out of 3, and I'm okay with it. We'll talk more on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.
Seth Lugo started a 4-pitcher shutout for the Padres in a win over the Marlins on Wednesday. Locked On Padres has his thoughts after the win.
Even when they win, still finding a little bit of a way to sort of lose. I don't know, kind of weird. What's up, everybody? Javier Reyes here, of course, from the Locked On Padres podcast. The Padres win the last game of, I keep moving my camera around because I can't find the angle I like, so you can see Stitch. He's hanging out back there. The Padres win last game of this 3-game set against the Marlins. Seth Lugo, dynamite. He's been good ever since he got blown up a few starts ago, so that's really, really great for him. Awesome control, Puerto Rican king, love that. And then Xander Bogaerts hitting a 2-run shot in this game. That's really cool. Hopefully he can get things going, but it just feels like it's a little bit of a lost season for him at this point, but still cool to see from him. And then lastly, Josh Hader works into some trouble, but thankfully stops things and with the bases loaded, getting a strikeout to end things. But the big thing that the Padres lost that I alluded to earlier, Robert Suarez getting ejected with, I assume, some substance issues. And I have so many questions. First of all, I must say, has anyone ever been ejected without even throwing a pitch for substance stuff. That's wild. And again, this team just finds ways to lose. You know what I mean? And then the second thing is this guy has he been a sticky merchant all this time? It's really concerning. I'm really concerned about this. I hope it was just some weird one-day thing. But considering how off Suarez has been this year with the whiff rates and everything, not getting people to chase, it would track a little bit. But I guess we'll have to wait, and it's all hearsay until we hear more. And of course, guys, remember to subscribe to the podcast. Recap of full series tomorrow. And of course, stay faithful.
Coming up, the Orioles come back to stun the Blue Jays. This is Locked On Game to Game, MLB. Okay, Locked On MLB fans, I have to tell you about a new app called Bunches. Bunches is an app that was built just for sports fans where you can chat sports in real time. Click the link in the show notes or description to join the app or go to the Apple App Store and download Bunches now. I'm going to tell you, you're going to love the conversations with our other Locked On sports fans. Bunches is the free app where sports fans can chat, and the Locked On MLB group chat is on Bunches. Go there now and connect with other baseball fans, chat your favorite team, and keep up with the latest MLB news. If you have any questions or comments about today's episode, you can chat about it there in the Locked On MLB bunch on Bunches. So you chat about your team every day. Download the Bunches app today, and when you do, our friends at Bunches have featured the Locked On MLB bunch in the Discover tab. You can also click the link in the description or show notes for today to join the Locked On MLB bunch community today. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Now, Brandon Lowe got the walk-off hit for the Rays in extras. That allowed them to beat the Rockies, and Locked On Rays has more about that dramatic finish.
A walk-off victory for the Tampa Bay Rays. 3 of their last 4 victories at home have been through walk-offs. I'm Ulysses Zambrano, host of the Locked On Rays podcast. The Rays were losing 5-3 in the 9th inning against the Colorado Rockies. They get 2 in the 9th. Unfortunately, they were not able to win it in the 9th because of a controversial challenge that did not give the Rays the victory. But however, 5 minutes later, they get the victory as Brandon Lowe gets a single and Osleivis Basabe scores from second. For this and much more of the Tampa Bay Rays, please subscribe to Locked On Rays on every podcast platform, including YouTube. Raise up.
The Baltimore Orioles poured 5 runs on the Blue Jays in the 8th inning and took down Toronto yesterday. The Locked On hosts from both sides join us with a recap.
When you suffer a heartbreaking loss against one of your division rivals, best thing to do the next night is, play one of the most complete games you've played all season. And that is what the Orioles did on Wednesday, beating the Blue Jays 7-0 in Game 2 of this series. Start with Dean Kramer. He was fantastic and didn't even know he'd be pitching in this game. Remember, Jack Flaherty got scratched earlier Wednesday. Kramer had to fill in, pitch a day early. He throws 6 scoreless. Why not? Anthony Santander hasn't played since Friday with a back issue. Comes back in the lineup. What does he do? Hits 2 homers. Boom, boom. Bullpen locks it down. Big 8th inning rally. This Orioles team, that is why they are 30 games over 500, right? They have a tough game, really tough extra inning, heartbreaking loss Tuesday night. They come back and just hit on every single facet of the game, shut out the Blue Jays, even the series the very next night. That is what makes this team so good over a 162-game season. They win it, and I'll recap it coming up on Thursday's episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
Hello friends, Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. Tonight I'm trying a new feature where the internet uses some sort of special fancy sensors and technology, and it'll cut off any video if what I'm saying you already know because you've seen it yourself a zillion times. Let's try it out. The 2023 Toronto Blue Jays offense is pathetic.
Aaron Judge announced his return to the Yankee lineup last night, hitting 3 home runs and leading the Yankees to a win over the Nationals. Locked On Yankees, happy to finally be discussing a win.
Do you hear that? It's a chorus of angels singing because the Yankees' 9-game losing streak is over. Hallelujah! I'm Stacey Gotsoulias of Locked On Yankees, and yes, I'm here to talk about a win. The Yankees won a game. It's a miracle. They won 9-1 against the Nationals, and the big story of the game normally would be the offense. But I'm giving player of the game to Luis Severino. Luis Severino has had a horrifically bad year, and he will tell you that. He threw 6 2/3 scoreless innings. Now, he wasn't vintage Severino where he was striking people out left and right, but he looked a lot better than he's looked all season. And this was really important for him. And oh, ho-hum, Aaron Judge hit 3 home runs. So we have everything you need to know about this game. Luis's performance, I'm saying Luis like I'm personal friends with him, Luis Severino's performance, Judge's performance, and we talk about Jason Dominguez because he was promoted to AAA. Was it too soon? No, probably not. And should he be promoted to the Yankees? Probably not, but we'll talk about it.
Adam Duvall hit the home run that sent the Red Sox past the Astros last night in extras, and our Locked On hosts take you through the finish in Houston.
Hey, it's Gabby from Locked On Red Sox, and wow, what an absolute emotional roller coaster of a game that took place tonight in Houston. Red Sox win a massive 7-5. They absolutely needed that to gain some ground in the wild card as the Mariners and Blue Jays both lost their games today. Adam Duvall with a huge home run in the top of the 10th inning to ultimately seal the win for the Red Sox. Josh Winkowski did scare me a little bit in the bottom of the 10th inning there. He gave up a run and loaded the bases, but ultimately the Red Sox got the job done. I mean, Chris Sale is an absolute fighter, just battled his way through 5 innings, even though it was a little bit difficult, gave up 4 runs, but ultimately at the end of the day, the Red Sox pulled this one out, and just please grab a split. That's what I asked for before the series, and seeing how the series started, I'd be more than happy with a split. So win tomorrow.
What more could you have asked for before today's game? The Astros had a chance to go into a virtual tie with the Texas Rangers for first place in the AL West because they were off. You're 0.5 games behind them. The Mariners had already lost. You went with one of your better lineups, especially with Jose Abreu returning back to the lineup. He did have a big hit. The only thing is Martin Maldonado was in the lineup, but he did have a home run. But unfortunately, the Astros were able to score 4 runs in the first, 3 innings. But Jose Urquidy allowed 4 runs in his 5 innings as well. And the Astros just weren't able to hold them back in extra innings. That's something they struggled with all year. They're 1-8. Kendall Graveman gave up the go-ahead home run in the 10th inning. The Astros loaded the bases, but it wasn't enough. We'll talk about that on tonight's Locked On Astros.
The Reds and Angels played 2 yesterday, and some troubling news about Shohei Ohtani. After getting flooded out on Monday night, our Locked On hosts review the doubleheader.
The Cincinnati Reds hit the over, and then they sweep the doubleheader to sweep the series in Anaheim. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast, and the Cincinnati Reds had an offensive explosion on Wednesday, scoring 16 runs in 2 games to dominate the Los Angeles Angels and head into Arizona on a 3-game winning streak and a half game ahead in the wild card. In fact, the Reds are now a half game ahead in the wild card against the Arizona Diamondbacks and San Francisco Giants. Who do the Reds play next? Oh yeah, the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants. Huge week ahead for this young Reds team, but it seems like, I don't know, are they back? Is this what we saw in June? I think it might be. Join me on the next Locked On Reds. We're going to talk about it.
Now we got some breaking news. Shohei Ohtani has a torn UCL, and Mike Trout is going back to the injured list. What's going on, everybody? John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. I'm kind of in shock sitting here. This tweet came from Sarah Valenzuela from the LA Times, who covers the Angels. Mike Trout is going back on the IL. Shohei Ohtani has a tear in his arm, and he will not pitch the rest of the year. They're searching for a second opinion on Ohtani. It's a UCL tear for Ohtani. This comes on the back of the Angels being swept by the Cincinnati Reds, and that's not good. The fact that Ohtani, look, the Angels aren't going anywhere, that's obvious, but this severely is going to affect what happens to Ohtani come this offseason in terms of a new deal for next year. Good grief. Okay, well, we'll be there for you on Locked On Angels. Join Mike and I wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. We'll see you there.
That's a wrap for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. We're right at the end here. We're pushing for the playoffs. Make sure that you're subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On. game to game.